The views and opinions expressed in this content are that of a continuously evolving nature and are subject to change as humanity evolves into higher states of awareness.
I've only ever been to one psychic supper. I don't know whether they still do them, but it was fabulous. And what a psychic supper is, everybody takes a bit of supper and you hire a memorial hall or something and you get so many tables and you have a medium for each table. And then as you come in, you pick up a name and a table. And you get your medium. So you don't know what medium you're going to get. No, it's just a medium. You pick up the name of a medium and you find his table. And I got Roy. And I'm sitting there and there's a chap there and he was very tall. And his body language was incredible, this bloke. I was watching him all the time. And he came straight to this fella. And he said to this fella, he said, "You've just bought a house, haven't you? A bungalow. An old house, an old cottage." That's right, cottage. And he said, "How do you know that?" He said, "Well, they're telling me." And he said, "All right." And he said, "And you've done this place up," he said, "and you've always wanted it." "Yes, you're right." He said, "But you're not," he said, "and you live on your own, don't you?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "But you don't live on your own, do you?" He said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Somebody else is in the house, isn't there?" And now his body language went from this to this. It's brilliant to watch him. And he really got his attention then. And he said, "You're hearing footsteps and doors banging and it's frightening you to death." And he said, "You're not kidding." "How do you know that?" And he says, "Well, I've been told." He said, "I've got him here." He said, "Actually, his name is George." And he's laughing. He said, "I'm frightening him to death. And he's telling me that you've mucked about with his house. You don't like it. You put new kitchen in and what have you, and he doesn't like it. And he doesn't realise he's dead. He thinks you've moved into his house." And he don't like it. And so he said, "Do you want me to get rid of George?" And he said, "Yes, please." He said, "I don't want him in the house." So he said to George, he said, "Look, darling, you've died. You go to the light." And he said he watched him go to the light. And then he said, "But he's not the only one, is he?" And the bloke nearly fell off his chair. He said, "Well, actually not." She said, "But this one isn't in the house. This one's in the garden. And it's a lady. And she's in a crinoline. She doesn't come near the house. And he said, she had a rose garden. And she lived for her roses. They're not there now. But at one time, you could look out of this window and you see her in the garden." And he said, "And she just tends to her roses." He said, "Shall I get rid of that one?" And he said, "No, she doesn't bother me. I'm okay with that one." So afterwards, I sat with this young man. I was curious, and I said, "Gosh," I said, "that was incredible, wasn't it?" He said, "I'll tell you what," he said, "I'm a policeman, ex-policeman." He said, "I've retired." And I went right up the ranks, he said, "and I have met criminals," he said, "really what you would call very bad people," he said, "but I wasn't scared of them like I was with those footsteps in the house at night time." He said, "That George scared me to ruddy death. He would move things sometimes." And he said, "I was absolutely petrified." And today I went out and I saw this sign at the village hall, a psychic supper. And he said, and I wasn't going out. And he said, I had to go for something. I went past it. And that's why I came in here. Because I thought maybe somebody could help me. So that was another thing that Roy did, which was incredible. And the last time I found out about Roy was when it was foot and mouth. And he moved to another place, and I wanted to find him. And we went all around this place where he was staying, and we asked in all the shops, and nobody had heard of him. And it was 5 o'clock, just coming on 5 o'clock, and it was pouring with rain, and I was sheltering on the rain under an archway. And there was a shop opposite me, and they were selling African stuff, and because I've been to all the ones that look like mind bodies, And I thought, I'll go in there and just ask her. And I walked in, and she looked up, and she looked at the time, and I said, do you know Roy Bennett? She said, yes, he's upstairs. I said, you mean Roy Bennett's here? And she says, yes. She says he does readings and he does healing upstairs. And I said, wow. And she said, and I had to tell her something, which I won't put on tape here. But she said to me, she said, in January, she said, I went to India. She said, and I'm not into all of this. She said, I'm into African stuff, but I'm not into the spiritual stuff. I hire my rooms out to whoever want to use them. And she said, at top of, above her shop. But she said this man was, this beggar was throwing bones on the floor, and he was doing readings with these bones. And she was curious, so she had a reading by him. And he said to her, he said, on this date, at 5 o'clock, a lady will come into your shop and will give you a very special message that you need to look out for this lady. And that's why when you opened the door at 5 o'clock and you told me this, and she'd already knew about it. Incredible, isn't it?